Hey, this is Del Jackson. We got a special LLhoops here. We got Coach Jeff Hartenstine, newly named head coach at Lancaster Mennonite. We talked off camera to Coach, and I swear I don't know if we're going to keep this short or not, Coach, because you and I just sharing battle stories. We're having a great time. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Del. Thank you for doing this. Super happy that I can do the third one of this series where you had the other two guys on. The league's in good hands. Those guys are both awesome. I listened to their interviews, and both those guys have magic. So hopefully I can share some good tidbits as well.
I love the follow and the plug for LLhoops. I mean, we didn't even get to
All
the
right.
end.
Oh,
Usually
yeah.
comes at
Yep.
the end, so we love that. Hey, you and I talked off camera. Give the people that don't know you your background in coaching and in sports. And
Yep.
I didn't know as much of your background as I should have,
Mhm.
but you got some Blazer blood in your big guy.
Yeah. So long story short, I started out at Hempfield, played football and basketball at Hempfield, ended up hurting my neck playing football, so just gravitated to basketball only. Was a bench guy for Goodling, Dave Brown, those guys that were there forever. Had a good experience there. Really had a close group of friends over at Lancaster Mennonite. So transferred over there my senior year. Played for Groff, had a great experience. Continued to stay in touch with Groff. So got out of high school. Ended up at Moravian College, now Moravian University. Wanted to go to Lehigh, was waitlisted. Was at an open gym at Moravian College playing with the guys. Ended up being picked up to be on the team there for 2 years as a practice player. Ended up getting to go to Italy with that group. So made some lifelong friendships. Great experience there. Once I got out of school, while I was doing continued education, Groff reached out to me. Ended up joining an assistant coaching with Groff for 3 or 4 years. After that, stepped away. Wife wanted to start having kids, build the family. Did some AAU stuff. Got asked to be involved as assistant coach here and there when I had an itch to be involved with hoops. And then when Seth, lo and behold, 5 years ago, Seth Buckwalter, lo and behold, 5 years ago, had an opportunity to take over the head coaching role. He reached out to me, got me off the couch, and I jumped on with him and had just a great experience. And lo and behold, Seth had some administrative opportunities here to take over as the middle school principal. Wanted to step down. Also enjoyed time with his family. Wanted to step down, and job opening came open. Really close with a lot of these players. Really close with a lot of these parents. And when the dust settled, I got the opportunity, which is a tremendous blessing, a huge honor. So here we are.
Okay, so sometimes Dell goes off script there a little bit, and as you're talking, I'm there like, okay, Goodling, Groff, Buckwalter. That's a pretty good coaching tree there, brother. Tell
No
me,
doubt.
tell me what you your new style from what you learned from these guys. If you're going to use some of the things that they had, I'm sure you are, but I mean, what type of things did you get from each of these coaches? What main point did you pick up from
Sure.
work?
So for Goodling, just an understanding of basketball movement, um, understanding of how to compose yourself in big moments. Hempfield, always a 6A school, always playing big top tier teams. Um, the practices there, of course, are just crazy because there's such a level of talent there every year. So left there, really understanding basketball, understanding summer basketball, understanding movement, how I can impact the game, a much better basketball player. Going over to Lancaster Mennonite, Jeff Groff, he was tough, very, very tough. So Mennonite wins like crazy. He was tough, um, really tough on you, leaned on you. So immediately it made me understand the maturity level that's needed to succeed. So he's trying to be tough on you, not just so you win against whoever you're playing, not just so you win in your district game, but so you're prepared in life. Obviously, Christian faith, Christian values. It's a lot more prevalent over at Lancaster Mennonite. It's something that's around you all the time. It's something that's discussed amongst players. So there is a good balance there, as far as basketball, as far as appropriate conduct, as a Christ man, man of faith. And then last but not least, just a super level of maturity where when you leave there, you're ready for just about anything with that level of coaching. For Buckwater, super, super, super appreciative of Buckwater because one, he's such a good stinking man. He's such a good guy. It actually absolutely, Seth would meet with every single player that wanted time, wanted an explanation, would sit down, be frank with them, but cared for kids so much. I've never been around a guy that loved kids more than he loves kids and wanted everybody to succeed. The other thing I'm super appreciative of Buckwater is he wasn't so proud as a head coach that over the summer he wanted to control everything. He looked at it as, hey, I need a break. I can get a break because I'm a teacher. My wife is also a teacher. We can travel with the time. I'm going to give Jeff an opportunity to be around these guys. He can take them to Philly. He can run the summer league. We'll, text or we'll get back and forth to each other. And it allowed me to grow as a coach. I had such tremendous leash and freedom. And as we got closer and more success as the years went on, he would step aside and say, hey, what do you want to call here? Hey, what should we switch this defense? And it became, it wasn't a partnership, but it felt like a partnership. It was awesome. So I grew in my relationship with Christ from him, from just being like a big brother. Grew in my relationship with the parents, with the players. My basketball confidence as far as play calls and things like that reached another level. So I owe him a ton. Great man, great coach. He'll be back at some point.
I noticed that you had more and more responsibilities as your time there with Seth progressed. I mean, I was lucky enough to I'm close to Mennonite, so I get to watch you guys play, and plus you play at a high level. So that's kind of it's interesting to see sometimes as assistant coaches get more confidence, number one, and then how the head coaches do use them. So let's talk about what you've been doing with your players.
Well, the first thing I'll say is, when you heard Waltman's interview, when you heard Grable's interview, they've got perspective of what they need to do with their programs. I am 100% sure those guys can probably hoop better than I can. I'm sure of it. But what I know is you need to lean on guys. You need to network. You need mentors that tell you, hey, this is the playbook you have to follow. So in my years doing this, I've probably done a lot of things wrong. But what I've done is develop connections with some great senior coaches. And right away, I've got access to them as far as texts. I've got access to them as far as nightly phone calls. Hey, what should we be doing here? Where should we be going? They've given me the keys and the playbook on what's needed. So we like to start the summer going to a college shootout where you get 3 games on a Sunday. After that, we did Nook Summer League. We did Gene Lambert's Summer League downtown, where we've been waiting for games, but because of Canada smoke and rain and stuff, like we're still making up games there. So those are still ongoing. We've been to Philly twice. We'll go to Allentown. We'll go to Westchester. We'll do fall leagues. So all that stuff is in the plan to get the guys closer to Philly. The plan is get them closer to Philly basketball. There's something in the water there. Delco kids, they're tough, they're physical, they're mature. It exposes a lot of our weaknesses. So we like getting around those guys, even in the preseason when we're preparing for the season official scrimmages. We've got some lined up with District 1 Delco teams to kind of get us out of our comfort zone. So we've been doing that. We've also been doing open gyms, which for us is just pure magic. Any Sunday or whatever night during the week, we do it as well. You could wander into the gym. and you'll see Julian Colazzo in there playing with the guys. You'll see Elijah Terry in there. You'll see Jaden Mast in there. You'll see Cam Hurst in there. You'll see David Weaver in there. You'll see Summerall in there. A guy we had a couple of years ago, Declan Hurst, who's really matured with his game, will be in there. So it is awesome. So we do some skill work first for maybe 20 minutes or so, and then I just turn the guys loose. We make up teams, and there are some big boys, some big talent in there. So it helps these guys. And the best part is these alumni are so cool and great to these kids. They'll address them afterwards, pat them on the butt, tell them how well they did, make remarks. So they leave out of there with so much confidence. Wow, like this guy that's a living legend here, Colazzo, Hurst, those guys, Cole Fisher's there around with the guys. Those guys are all-time leading scorers at that school. So they're around. It's awesome. So the plan plus the open gyms with these old guys coming back that are still in great shape, they're off to a good start.
Wow, it sounds like you're pretty busy, man. I'll tell you how are your numbers? I mean, I know Mennonite, you don't all these times have kids on campus. So does that affect you guys in the summer at all?
It affects us. One, we have the same issues everybody else does, or maybe summer jobs, summer vacation gets these guys pulled in other directions. The other part is, some guys preparing for soccer, like they want to be locked in, like hoops is their off season. But yes, numbers are not where we need them to be. To be completely honest with you, I thought, hey, state championship, we're going to have 4 or 5 kids touring the school. Hopefully one of them 6'6", and all this stuff will just happen, and the optics will be fine because there's reasons for these guys to come out. All that's good stuff. It hasn't happened that way. So we've got a ton of young guys that were freshmen, that were JV slash varsity guys that are coming back. That'll play a big role for us. We lost some absolute studs, some once a decade type players. The other part is with our school, it's a little bit different. We've got a little bit of international stuff going on where you don't ever know what's going to happen in the end. A kid from China, a kid from Spain, Ethiopia, where you get a call from people within the school, hey, this kid might be coming. Hey, he might be a basketball player. So right now, there's some things there that are hovering that I'm not even sure what's going to come of it. Host families need to be located and certain rules have to be followed. So those things are to be determined, but maybe one of those kids ends up showing up to an open gym or, getting introduced at some point. So that'd be a pleasant surprise. But the numbers wise, we in the past have focused on, we have a nice feeder system where, fundamentally sound kids, for whatever reason, there's a connection to Lancaster Mennonite. And this fundamentally sound kid from this school is transferring over from this school where the parent used to work there is transferring over, or there's cousins or best friends there, they're transferring over. I'm going to bring in some guys that aren't currently at LMH that are just monsters when it comes to youth development. These guys have run programs, youth programs, individual skill nights where they get 40 kids in the gym and they're teaching dribbling, breaking it down in groups. That's what we need. And at some point, these open gyms aren't just going to have our high school kids. They're going to have the younger brothers of these high school kids that are currently indecisive about where they're going to go to school. Do they stay in their district? Do they come over? But there's a big push for that. There's also a huge, huge push right now to try to get some alumni that have just kind of been away from the program for whatever reason. They've gotten caught up in their business. They've got caught up in their work, their family. And this state championship has kind of just brought all these guys out from their slumber, from their hibernation, where now they want to be around more. And how can I help? And can we talk more? What are you guys doing there? Like, how are you doing this? So that type of stuff is going on where we're trying to reconnect with some guys that strayed away a little bit. And hopefully as their families mature and get older, their kids come to LMH. We handle them properly. We have the right youth program there to grow these kids. So the hard part for me is what people have made me aware of recently is, dude, you got about 1 million ideas. You can't do all of these in 1 week. You can't, like this is a long-term plan. Like, so we're trying to figure it out. But for me, I have had the most luck. One, the first go round with coaching. Now the second round as an assistant to Buckwalter, and now taking on the program, listening to mature coaches and wanting to get mature coaches around for our program where these guys know how to handle kids, they know how to develop kids, they know how to deal with, we've got a diverse group. Some kids are affluent, some kids are city kids that come in. These guys know how to handle kids that have some emotional instability. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun getting the guys around them. I think the kids are going to be motivated, and I think the program's really going to take flight.
What stories, what did you learn from recruiting this year, dealing with some Division III coaches, the Division II coaches, and maybe some JUCOs? I don't quite know. You and I talked off camera, but just kind of like you were kind of one of the point guys on that. I know you were, because I watched it. I watched it in action. So just tell me, like, what you learned from that experience as going into being a head coach.
Well, one, relationships is a big part. So you want to fight for every single one of these kids, and every single one of these kids sees themselves as a college basketball player. Last year, we were fortunate to have 3 players go on to play college basketball, and that will be playing this coming fall. And what I figured out, one is you got to put them in events. So we all know AAU and how important AAU is. Like, so if you're playing high level AAU, somebody's going to see you, and maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe you get exposed a little bit, so they're going to see you. So you're going to get exposure. 2, you really want a connection with an AAU coach that's going to work for these kids. And it's not just all about ego, not all about like developing a name for their program. So with Hurst and Weaver, we funneled and pushed hard for both of them to play together at LA Elite. And it's an awesome program. They teach, but they care about the kids. So those guys developed a great chemistry, which helped us big time. But also the coaches there, Kraft, they were just awesome. They pick up the phone and call college coaches. So what ended up happening is, coming into the season, we had some college coaches that were sniffing around. But as all of us know, when you're going to Division II, you want some scholarship, you want some commitment from them, and that was the hardest part for me. College coaches were sniffing around. College coaches emailed. They reached out to Camden and David on a regular basis. There's a misinterpretation there of like, great, like this is in the bag. Like, who do we choose from now? Like, now we have so many choices. No, it gets real when somebody wants to actually talk about where they're at as far as scholarship money. Mm-hmm. And when those coaches open up to us and say to us, we know you love the kids, but this just isn't a fit for us, or we're there, but we're not there yet. We're waiting on some other kids. The months start going by quickly. And for Hurst, he was dragging around that broken paw all last year, licking his wounds because he couldn't play. And you're thinking like, holy cow, like, this kid is a scholarship level player. Weaver was doing his thing. He was blocking a million shots. He was holding his own. So we knew things would work out for him, but I was worried things for Camden would just kind of fall below the radar. Luckily, he came back, tore it up in the state playoffs, and everything was great. So what we found out is, one, relationships are important. So now we've got a lot of these coaches that have kind of become friends. So you can pick up the phone and call them. They'll trust you. They'll take your call. They'll be frank with you. 2, you want them in an AAU program where the coaches are actually going to fight for them, pick up the phone and call, and they have relationships that mean something, which is hugely important. And 3, these things happen not on our time, but on the coach's time. So like, you want it to happen right away. You want the offer right away. You want it signed, sealed, and delivered in November or January. Some of these things wait until June or so based on the coach's time, how they're operating. And you can't get emotional and concerned about it because things happen for a reason. So all you can do is it might sound a little cliche from the school, but just pray about it. Be completely upfront with the kids. Don't mislead them from what you're hearing. Just have a strong faith that it's going to come through. And so far, for the Cole Fishers, for the Xavier Summeralls, for the Cam Hurst, for the Dave Weavers, it has come through. So in the end, we now have some relationships with those guys. And again, last but not least, getting these kids closer to Philadelphia as possible in shootouts, one-day events, whether they're on colleges, whether they're wherever, whether they're in Philadelphia. There are a million coaches there because it's a hotbed for talent, and they are looking at other players. And oh, by the way, they might look at your players as well. Weaver ended up having a great audition with Westchester, where we were playing Lower Merion there last fall. He was physical, he was nasty. These guys were city kids, and he was holding his own. And that really got his foot in the door. So get as close as possible to Philly, play in some high-level events, maybe even higher than what your head is. Play above your head, and you'll play against high-level opponents that people are looking at. And then also trust the relationships with the AAU coaches and trust the relationships you have with college coaches, and then just leave it up to faith that it's going to happen.
All right, we'll end with this one. I always talk about, and I ask coaches about their goals for the program. So now you're in a very unique situation where Mennonite's coming off a state championship team. So describe what your thoughts are going forward as far as goals for the team, and how do you guys determine what goals that the team's going to have this year?
So I have my personal goals for the team, and these assistant coaches who will be coming in, I'll have to sit with them and kind of get their feedback on it, get some feedback from the captains. But you know, that state championship is going to be a distant memory in the near future, and we got to win. So the goal is, of course, you need to win. And the best way to win is by preparing to play against high-level teams. So we're going to schedule high-level teams. I think we're going to win our fair share of those, but we might take it on the chin a couple of times as well as experience there where we'll get humbled. But our expectation is to get into the districts. Our expectation is to be right there at the end, winning our section, or be right there in the conversation, get in the league playoffs. Our expectation is to be a competitor in the state playoffs again. And we lost 4 super good players. But as we're going through these expectations, we're going to be developing younger players at that time as well. They're not going to be sitting on the bench. They're going to be thrown in the fire. So we've already got a young guy in Chase Hurst that was our point guard last year, and some other young guys that were on the court a little bit. These young guys are going to be on the court. They're going to be out of their comfort zone. And I just want those guys to know that pressure is a super good thing. If there's something expected of you, that's a cool way to operate. That means our program's doing something right. So we're going to grow the young guys, get them in there, but also have the same expectations that we want to be there in the end.
I thought Mennonite did a great job dealing with the injuries that you guys had last year, but because of that, you have a deeper bench. You have a deeper bunch of players. I'm not going to say a bench, but you have players that have played in big games that were on the JV, weren't even on our roster. I mean, we're doing Zooms with you guys. We're doing live streams, and it's like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Well, he's not in the program. I don't know, and then it's like, that was pretty cool. I thought you guys did a great job with that. And I thought there was a lot of confidence with those kids and the players around them. We talked to some of the players. It's like, well, this guy's been playing well in practice, and we expect him to do well in a game. So I think that has a lot to do with your culture there, Coach.
I give it all to Buckwater. He was so cool and calm and collected. I was not that way. Like when these guys are getting hurt left and right, I was like, my gray hair was falling out of my head, and but like he just, hey, it's meant to be. Trust the process. Players are capable of more than what you realize. And I said, okay, coach, I buy in. Let's see it. And it was a different guy each night that's just stepped into a great role for us that there wasn't a lot expected of. Like, where did he come from? And it was awesome. So the way you saw it is exactly correct. Buckwater had the faith from the beginning. I didn't. Now I do because Buckwater showing me the way. But kudos to him. He saw it coming from the jump.
Hey, thanks, big guy, for talking to us. Yeah. I'm sure that Dell will be at some of your games this year. I'm sure that Andy will be there. I'm sure that you guys are playing Steel High again. So that's usually. And how about Trinity? Is Trinity on the schedule?
Trinity's not on the schedule. That usually was a game that we could count on each year, but they've handed it to us a couple of times here in recent years, and so we are now off their schedule. So we had to replace that game. So we went out, got some District 1 guys that are coming in. So Academy Park will be coming in. Owen J. Roberts will be coming in. So we've got some guys to replace them. But no, that hurt. Like, I love that Trinity game. And every year we've been licking our wounds lately. But, like, man, we count on it every year. It's kind of a measuring stick. But we lost that game. But as far as you and Andy, thank you so much for the coverage. I can't tell you enough how much the kids appreciate it. I can't tell you enough how much our school appreciates it. We love you guys. Anytime you're there, it's a big night for us. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, Coach. Good luck, brother. Good luck.
Thank you.
Not too long, and then we'll be looking at the wins and losses. It won't be long.
Absolutely. All right, bud. Thank you so much.